We are in part 7 and the final part of our series called Mind and Heart. This has been one of my favorite series that we've done here so far because I just think it's so important. It's a series all about God and mental health, and we are doing this series, and we were intentional about having a series like this because of how important this is. Our mental health is incredibly important to us because it affects just about every part of our life. Our mental health includes not just our mind, but includes our emotional well-being, our psychological well-being, and our social well-being as well, which means it impacts the way that we feel and the way that we think and the way that we relate to other people. And one more time, I've given you this disclaimer every part so far, and I'll give it to you again. And you know by now I'm not a psychologist and I'm not a licensed mental health counselor, so we're looking at how to care for our mental health from a spiritual perspective. But I don't want to downplay the significance of that and the importance of the spiritual side of our mental health journey, because research, science, experience show us that people, the healthier people are spiritually, the easier it becomes to get well emotionally, psychologically, and physically. That spiritually healthy people tend to get well and stay well when it comes to their mental health easier and faster. And if you don't believe me, just give it a try. Perhaps the next step in your mental wellness journey is to take a step in your faith journey. So over the past few weeks, we've talked specifically about things like anxiety and depression and worry and trauma. We talked a little bit about negative thinking as well. And today we're going to wrap up the series talking about something that I think every one of us in this room can relate to, everyone who's watching can relate to, especially if you are a Long Islander. Today we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about burnout. Burnout. Anybody have any experience with burnout? You don't have to raise your hand, but you probably do. And if you don't, or if you say you don't, you probably just don't realize that you do, that you're experiencing. Maybe you don't even remember the last time you had a moment where you weren't burnt out because it's just such a part of your life. And this, the reason why I say this is not to judge anybody or criticize anybody. It's just through experience, personal, and also with my interactions with people. Did you know probably 9 times out of 10, maybe 8 times out of 10, or probably more like 9 times out of 10, when I ask somebody, how are you? When I ask somebody, what's life like these days? What's going on in your world right now? 9 times out of 10, you know what the top 2 answers are? Anybody guess? Good, yes. Besides that, no, that's just like good. It's busy and tired. Tired and busy are like the 2 top answers I get. It's gotten to the point where I'll just go, listen, I know you're busy. I know you're tired. It's like saying I'm breathing. I know you're breathing. I want to know how you're doing beyond busy and tired, because we're all busy and tired. No, I get it. I'm busy and tired too. But here's the problem with that. There are real consequences to living a life that is always busy and always tired. You see, as much as I would like to think that Long Islanders are like superheroes, that we're just more capable of handling that kind of workload and that kind of stress in our life, the truth is we're just as human as everybody else, right? I mean, yeah, there are some things that I think Long Islanders can do, far better than others. And, I love Long Island. But when it comes to burnout, we are just as susceptible to everybody else. Now, burnout is a kind of stress, if you didn't know, but it's way worse than stress, like in itself. See, stress is generally short-lived and related to a temporary project or event. So you get stressed out when you got like a test to take, or there's a problem at work that you have to solve, or maybe you got a new job or you moved somewhere, and there's like that temporary stress about that situation. But burnout's much worse. Burnout is chronic stress that feels never ending. Burnout is when like you're so stressed and the stress just doesn't go away. Even after you get that task completed, or even after you finally make that move or start that job, it just sticks with you and it never ends. And when somebody is burnt out, it impacts their ability to function in a typical manner in every area of their life, but especially in the workplace as well. The American Psychological Association describes burnout this way. They say that burnout can include a lack of interest, motivation, or energy, as well as cognitive weariness, emotional exhaustion, and physical fatigue. In other words, when you've gotten to a point where like you're physically, emotionally, and mentally exhausted, and you just can't bounce back. You just live every day tired in those areas. There's a good chance that you're burnt out. And if you've ever been there before, or if you would say, I think I'm in a season of burnout right now, I just want you to know, just like every other mental health topic that we've talked about, you're normal, you're not broken, there's nothing wrong with you. What you are is human. We're all human. And if oftentimes the problem is we just don't know. We don't know what to look out for. We don't know how to prevent this. Maybe we don't even know that this is a thing. And so together we're going to talk about what it could look like for us to respond to burnout in our lives. Now, the other thing that I want to mention is sometimes it feels like you aren't a good Christian or a good follower of Jesus if you encounter things like that, like burnout. But that's not true either. In fact, I don't think anything could be further from the truth. Many of the heroes of our faith that we read about in the Old and New Testament have wrestled with burnout, including somebody that I want to talk to you about today. He was an Old Testament prophet, somebody who spoke on behalf of God, did amazing things on behalf of God. This is a person named Elijah. Elijah wrestled with burnout. In fact, I'm going to tell you a little story about a time where he was extremely burnt out. This happened shortly after God used Elijah to embarrass a bunch of prophets who were prophets of a false god named Baal. And after Elijah kind of does this really cool thing, you should read about it, after he embarrasses them, he angered their queen named Jezebel. And Jezebel was so upset by what Elijah did that she publicly promised to kill Elijah within 24 hours. Basically, she put a bounty on his head, like the second most powerful person in the land was now after Elijah. And when he found out about this, he completely fell apart, probably because he knew that ladies get stuff done. Right? And I was like, if the queen is after me, I'm seriously in trouble. And so you can read about this whole story in a document in the Old Testament we call 1 Kings. So in 1 Kings chapter 19, the story picks up here. Elijah, he hears about what Jezebel is going to do, and he was afraid. Naturally, he was so afraid that he fled for his life. He went to Beersheba, a town in Judah, and he left his servant there. Then he went on alone into the wilderness, traveling all day. He sat down under a solitary broom tree and prayed that he might die. I have had enough, Lord, he said. Take my life. I mean, it's so bad that literally the relief of death sounds better than continuing life. You ever felt that way before? This is how Elijah's feeling in this moment. Take my life, for I am no better than my ancestors who have already died. Then he lay down and slept under the broom tree. And in this moment, the prophet Elijah, this great man of God, who loved God with everything in him, who experienced God in ways that many don't ever get to experience God, who had an incredible relationship with God. In this moment, Elijah experienced burnout. In fact, he exhibits all three types of burnout: physical, mental, and emotional. See, physical burnout it's like when ongoing stress in your life impacts your body to the point where you just always feel physically tired and exhausted and a little sluggish and slow. Mental burnout is when ongoing stress impacts your brain. Literally, it can physically impact the biology in your brain. It will enlarge your amygdala. That's the little portion of your brain that controls your fight, flight, or freeze instincts. It will weaken your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain that makes decisions and helps you remember things and helps you focus. All of a sudden, all those things become difficult to do when you're wrestling with burnout. But it'll also impact your emotions. Emotional burnout is when ongoing stress impacts how you feel, and you might just be walking through life always feeling kind of low emotionally. Or you may just be simmering. No matter what you do, you can't help but have this underlying anger or sadness or depression just right beneath the surface of your feelings. This is what burnout can do for many people, can do to many people, I should say. But before we look at how we can respond to that, again, from a spiritual perspective, let's look at like how people like Elijah actually get there in the first place. I want to talk about 3 causes of burnout that Elijah himself demonstrates for us. I think Elijah, through his story, we can see that burnout is often caused by running ourselves into the ground. Just go, 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 go until we can't go anymore. This was Elijah's story. Remember, Elijah was afraid after hearing what Jezebel was going to do. So he fled for his life and he went to Beersheba, a town in Judah. Now, this may not really mean much to you until you look at it on a map. So when you look at the map, at the time that Elijah heard this news, he was in Jezreel, which is way up here, and he fled to Beersheba, which was all the way down to 100 miles. 100 miles. This guy ran over 100 miles. That's a lot. That's running yourself into the ground. For many of us, this is what our life is like, right? We are constantly on the go, constantly running. The moment that we wake up, our mind is running with all the things that have to happen, and we are up, and we're taking care of the kids, and we're driving to a million places that we got to go, and as a result, we are running ourselves into the ground. It's the first cause of burnout. You got school, you got work, you might be running yourself in the ground trying to be the best mom or be the best dad that you can be. Maybe you're running yourself into the ground trying to stay fit, trying to make time for friends, trying to make sure that the house is clean, that the dishes are done, that the clothes are washed, that the food is cooked, that the kids are getting to all their sports events and all their hobbies at all different times. Maybe you're running yourself into the ground trying to make time for volunteering and faith and all of those things that you know is good for you, but it's all compiling all at once, and you're running and you're running and you're running. It's on and on and on and on and on until you hit the ground trying to do it all. 3 types of burnout. The first is running ourselves into the ground. The second one that Elijah demonstrates for us is trying to do it all on our own. If you're anything like me, this is my MO. This is where the answer, how are you doing? This is good, even if you're not good, right? You ever do that? It's like, I don't want to tell them how I actually am because it can be a little embarrassing, especially when it comes to mental health or emotional health. Like, for whatever reason, there's something in me that's like, I don't want to reveal that side of me. Maybe you think I'm weak. Maybe you'll think less of me if I tell you that I'm struggling in that area. And so I'm just going to isolate. I'm just going to deal with that stuff all on my own. Or I won't even deal with it. But I'm just going to keep it inside and not let anybody in. This is what Elijah did. Elijah was afraid, and he fled for his life. He went to Beersheba, a town in Judah, and he left his servant there. The person who was by his side, the companion that he had, he chose to isolate himself from that person, which contributes to burnout. It elevates the burnout in our life, the ongoing stress in our life, because nobody was designed to do life alone. Nobody was designed to do life alone. Even if you're the most introverted person on the planet, you were never designed to do life outside of a community. We all need each other. And Elijah decided to isolate himself, and it elevated his burnout. Thirdly, Elijah teaches us that burnout can be caused by dwelling on the negative. Oftentimes, this is what burnout does. It causes us to fixate on all the bad things in life. Literally, Elijah's prayer reveals to us that he was dwelling on the negative. He prays to God and says, I've had enough, Lord. Take my life. And here's what's interesting. He doesn't say, like, help me in this situation. I'm afraid of the queen. I'm afraid of what might happen. No, instead, he says something kind of random. I'm no better than my ancestors who have already died. This just shows, again, where his mind's at. He's just thinking about all the negative things. All those negative thoughts have taken a hold of his mind in this moment. Notice in his weakness, he starts to compare himself with other people. Have you ever done that before? You ever think like, man, I'm such a failure. I'm such a failure because I don't have what they have. I don't get to drive a cool car like they get to drive. I don't have the kind of job that they have. My marriage isn't as good as theirs. My faith isn't as strong as theirs, whatever it might be. You ever compare yourself to other people? That might be a sign that you're burnt out. You're dwelling on the negative. This is what Elijah was doing. He was burnt out. He was running himself into the ground. He was trying to do it all on his own. He was dwelling on the negative. But in one of the prophet Elijah's darkest moments, literally, he was in such a dark moment that he would rather die than continue on. But in one of his darkest moments, he got to experience God, and I think one of the most incredible ways. And I think you can too. But here's what happens next to Elijah. But as he was sleeping, an angel touched him and told him. In just a second, we'll look at what the angel said, but I just want to pause here for a minute and just mention that anytime angels show up, either in the Old Testament or the New Testament, whether it's in a dream or for real, they always have a message from God. I mean, that's kind of their job. That's like literally what angel means, like messenger. So they're sending a message from God. But before we look at what this message is, I want to talk about what it isn't. Because for me, I read the story and I think, uh-oh, Elijah's in trouble. Like, here comes God's angel coming to say, dude, I don't know what I would think the angel would say, but to me, like, I wouldn't be surprised if the angel was like, you wimp, you're running from a girl, man, you don't have any faith, you should be praying more, you should be like going to church more. I don't know, you're not spiritual enough, I can't believe that you ran away like this, I don't know. But look, the angel doesn't say any of that, none of that. He wasn't there to tell Elijah that Elijah was wrong or that he was bad, that he was less than, that he wasn't spiritual enough. No, you want to know what the angel says? I think this is so cool. But as he was sleeping, an angel touched him and told him, get up. I don't even want you to get up and pray. I don't even want to get up and go to church. No, get up and eat something. Eat. How cool is this? I think the angels literally makes this guy a meal. Get up and eat. It gets even cooler. It says he told him, get up and eat. And then Elijah looks around, and there beside his head was some bread baked on hot stones and a jar of water. So he ate and drank, and then he lay down again. Basically, what happened here is God woke Elijah up just to feed him a meal, and then he tucked him back in for another nap. I mean, the message that God was sending, the message that God was communicating to Elijah in the midst of his burnout was, look, I know you're afraid. I know this is scary. I know you got a lot on your plate right now. But don't forget to take care of yourself. All those things can be so distracting and can be so consuming, but don't forget to take care of yourself. Don't forget to eat. Look, if you've been zoned out, or if you've been so distracted by the fact that I don't have glasses anymore, just tune back in, okay? Tune back in because this next part may be for you. This is so important. You know what this means for us? It means that sometimes the most spiritual thing that you can do is nap. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is take a nap. We're not really an amen church, but can I get an amen for that, right? Amen, right? If you're not really a napping person, that's okay. Let's change it. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is rest. Just take care of yourself. Have a donut or whatever kind of treat you're into, Take a minute or 2 or 10 or 30 and just listen to some soothing music or whatever kind of music you like. Go to the beach, take a walk, just slow down. Sometimes the most spiritual thing that we can do is rest. I know how hard this is, especially, again, for Long Islanders. I know how tough it is to actually take any kind of time for yourself, because not only does that mean you won't be able to get to the things that you need to get to, that work won't get done if you pause, but it also means you're going to instantly have to start feeling guilty. You ever feel guilty for taking care of yourself? Guilty for not doing more? You're like, well, if I stop right now, then I won't be able to do all this stuff I want to do. Or maybe you might feel guilty for not being available. Well, if I take time for myself, that means I don't have time for the kids. I don't have time for the friends. I don't have time for my boss, whatever it might be. Or here's the one that's really crazy. Sometimes, especially when you're burnt out and you try to do this, sometimes you'll start feeling guilty just because you're feeling better. You experienced that before? It's like, there's something in you that tells you don't deserve to feel recharged or rested. Some of us deal with that. It's better to be honest with ourselves about that. So here's my advice, though. In the midst of the guilt that will inevitably come if you try to actually do what Elijah did and rest and take care of yourself, when guilt inevitably pops up, here's my advice. Don't let your mind bully your body. This is really hard. But don't let your mind bully your body. For some of us who are burnt out, We're burnt out because anytime we try to rest, our mind just goes crazy and calls us all sorts of names, like, you loser, you're lazy, who do you think you are, blah, blah, blah. And our mind starts to bully our body. And what we have to do, this is so hard, what we have to do is we have to pre-decide. We have to pre-decide to put our mind in a timeout when we go to rest. If you decide on my day off this week, I'm actually going to take the day off. It's actually going to be a day where I don't work. And I'm talking all work. This is hard. But for some of us, we treat our day off like a day to do errands. Right? I mean, it's like, well, this is the day that I get to go do all the other stuff. What if we actually treated our day off like a day off? To actually rest and just do whatever brings us life. You know what's going to happen? I'll tell you what, especially if you're beginning to explore this concept of rest, your mind's going to start trying to bully your body. And you got to put your mind, you have to actively put your mind in time out. You go sit here in the corner, you face the wall. You think about what you've done. And then you actually let your body rest, right? Now look, when we talk about rest, I think it's really important to note that rest looks different for different people. Rest looks different for different people. There is no like one size fits all for everybody because rest is more than just sleep. Sleep is a kind of rest, but it's not the only way that we rest. The key to healthy rest is to figure out what actually brings you life, what really recharges you and energizes you and fills your cup, right? Because if you lay around all day on the couch just watching TV, have you ever done that before? I've done that before. And then you're just as, if not more tired by the end of the day after doing that. It's like, well, I just laid on the couch all day. It's because that isn't actually restful. That might not be restful for you, or that might not be the kind of rest that you need, which means that you may need to approach rest a little bit differently. Maybe approach rest from a different perspective than just sleeping. See, for some people, if you work with your mind primarily, like I do, like most of my job consists of meeting with people and leading and then like writing stuff or writing messages like this. I'm just always engaging my mind. For some people who are working with their mind all the time, you might want to try resting by doing something physical, which seems counterintuitive, but it works. Like for me, part of my rest every Monday is usually the day that we take off, and pretty much every Monday we spend a couple hours at a gym in Melville rock climbing. It's a very physical activity, but it's very recharging for me. And we have a whole small group of people that does it, and even just being in that community brings me life as well. But if you primarily work with your hands and what you do is pretty physical, you might want to try resting by engaging your mind, doing a puzzle or reading or writing or something like that, because there isn't one size fits all when it comes to rest. But the other thing about rest is that it doesn't just help when you're burnt out. It certainly does, but it's not just meant for people who are burnt out. Creating regular rhythms of rest is the best way to prevent burnout as well. It's the best way to keep us from ongoing stress consuming us. And so I have to recommend, I don't know if anybody's ever told you this before, but listen, I think you should try this. You should schedule regular rhythms of rest in your life. I'm talking one day a week, at least one day. Some of you get 2 days off, but at least one day a week where you just rest. At least once a month, once a quarter, and once a year. So you have to schedule weekly or daily rest, a couple minutes a day at least, weekly rest, monthly rest, quarterly rest, and yearly, annual rest. So for you, it could look like I'm going to take 30 minutes to an hour every day. It's just for me, just to take care of myself. I'm going to take at least one day a week. I'm going to take a weekend a month. I'm going to take a long weekend a quarter. And I'm going to take, a couple weeks a year. And I'm just going to unplug and spend time doing things that bring me life. I'm going to pause. I'm going to recharge. I'm going to connect with my Father in heaven. And when your guilt tries to make you feel bad, because I promise you it will, I'm going to tell you one more thing that I've learned over the years that has helped me combat this. And that's this, that the best thing that you can bring to and you can just fill in the blank with whatever is most important to you in this life. The best thing that you can bring to your marriage, to your kids, to your family, to your employees, to your business, to your church, to your faith, whatever is important to you. The best thing that you can bring to whatever is important to you in your life is the healthiest version of you. Isn't that true? That the best thing that you can bring to the people in your life that you care about the most is like the most recharged, energized, full of life version of you. That's the version of you, by the way, that thinks the clearest, right? That has the most fun, that it brings out the most joy, that sees the best in everything. The best thing you can bring to the things that you care about is the healthiest version of you. And you cannot be healthy, and neither can I, unless we learn how to truly rest. I'll be a little vulnerable and honest with you here and just tell you that I recently just went through this whole thing, this whole burnout thing. And I thought I was immune. That's another lie that kind of burnout tells you. It's like, yeah, you won't ever wrestle with that. I thought, again, I'm a Long Islander. I'm just built differently. I can work harder. I can work longer than everybody else. And I view burnout as like a bad word. It's like people who say they're burnt out, they're just masking their laziness. Have you done that before? And so when I was confronted with the fact that I might be burnt out, I resisted that. I said, no. I don't get burnt out. But the truth is, toward the end of the year last year, in the fall season is a pretty busy season for church. There was a lot going on. And at the time, Emily and I were about 5 years into this. So we started a local church about 4.5 years ago, but really there was a year of, work to get it launched in the first place. So we had been going for about 5 years. And anytime you start something new, it's a lot of work. So I describe my life as like a full sprint. So if people are mainly going at a light jog, Emily and I were just full sprint for like 5 years, getting everything up and running. And we love it. And we knew what we were getting into. But by the end of the year last year, I started to notice that something was off. And primarily, I came to this conclusion because I kept thinking things that weren't normal for me. I kept having these thoughts, pretty dark thoughts. And I'm like, where are these thoughts coming from? And, it started out just like a couple times a week. Then it was a couple times a day. And then it was just like all the time. I'm just having these thoughts. And the first step was the hardest step. The first step for me was just admitting to myself that I'm thinking things I don't want to think. And admitting to myself something is wrong. And I did that through journaling. I journal every day. Finally, I had the courage to just put it in my journal. I think something might be off. That gave me the courage to tell Emily, like, hey, I think something might be off. Just talking to her, she affirmed me, helped me see it. You're normal, But that gave me the courage to talk to one of my best friends, which gave me the courage to talk to my pastor, which gave me the courage to talk to a therapist for a short season where I got to process with the therapist. And all of them noticed the same thing. While I thought I was experiencing like a mild depression, what they saw that I couldn't see was actually I was exhausted. I was burnt out. I had been going for too long, and this is what burnout can do. It can present itself in all sorts of things. And so, yeah, I was experiencing like the symptoms of mild depression, but the root cause of it was the fact that I had been going for so long and I never stopped. I was like a computer. You guys ever have a computer that you keep on for too long? Like, think about it. When's the last time you shut your computer down and turn it back on? Like, if you're like me, it's like I can go months, years, and I don't even think about it. I closed the laptop, but when you actually went in and said, file, shut down, whatever, if you leave your computer on for too long, all of a sudden you'll experience it'll start to get slower. Sometimes it starts to get laggy. Every now and then it becomes even difficult just to load a website. And the quick fix, the easiest fix most of the time is all you have to do is just turn it off and turn it back on. It's like brand new again. And that's what I experienced. I had been a computer that was on for too long, and I just needed to get turned off and turned back on. And so all the advice I was getting from my pastor, from my friends, from this counselor is like, dude, you got to take a break. You got to take a break. And I'm like, yeah, I'll take a break in the summer. And they're like, no, you need a break now. I'm like, I do not want to do this. But I try my best. I really do. I try my best to actually practice what I preach, And look, we are in a community for a reason. There are wise people that God puts in our life for a reason. And the wise people that God has put in my life all were saying the same thing. And so I could resist that or I could listen. And I chose to listen. And you may have noticed you didn't see me much in January. It's because I took 4 weeks off. 4 weeks. And it was really hard. I did not want to do that. But I did. And it took me 8 days. 8 days to finally clear my head, clear my body, to rid it of the anxiety and the stress that it was feeling, and to not have those dark thoughts again. And I'll tell you what, if you would have asked me before I took my break, like, do you think this will work? I would have been like, no. Because when you're in it, when you're in the midst of it, it feels like there's no other way, that you're always going to live that way. But you ask me now what it was like, and I'll tell you, it was life-changing for me. I mean, I come back on the other side of that more recharged and feeling better than ever. All because I just did what Elijah did. What God told Elijah to do. Take care of yourself. It's good. It's good for you to care for other people and be available for other people. But the best thing that you can bring to the people that you love is the healthiest version of you. And you cannot be healthy unless you rest, unless you recharge. So let me ask you, where are you at with this? What's life like for you these days? You feeling burnt out? If so, is there anything in your life that may be leading you toward that or enhancing that season that you're in right now? Are you running yourself into the ground, just go, 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 never stopping, never taking a day off? Are you trying to do it all on your own, not letting anybody in, isolating, just giving the good answer? Are you dwelling on the negative? All the inputs you have are negative. The social media, the news, the friend group, it's just negative, negative, negative. And that's what your mind fixates on. If so, if God were to send an angel to you today, what kind of rhythms do you need to introduce in your life to help you prevent burnout? Do you need to take a break, eat something, take a nap? All right, what do you need? So do you need to take back your day off? You see, for me, I'm pretty strict about our day off. But what I realized is I got really loose about it over the last year. And so I tell myself, I'll just answer a couple texts or I'll send a few emails. So it really wasn't a day off. It was just a light day of work. Do you need to take back your day off? Stop being so busy. Do you need to start doing that thing that you really love to do, but you stopped doing it because you got so busy? It was a hobby. Maybe it's exercise. What kind of rhythms do you need to introduce or reintroduce into your life to help you prevent burnout or to help you get out of the season of burnout that you might be in? And finally, one more observation about Elijah before we wrap up is that his personal relationship with God is what strengthened him in his burnout. And honestly, that's where I found my strength too. When I took my break, I got really intentional about literally controlling my inputs and I turned off my email. I literally turned my phone off. It was just a brick that played, it was an iPod. So I turned my phone into an iPod and just could play music. And I had a playlist. I'm not like I only listen to God music. Like, I love all kinds of music. I'm a musician. I love all kinds of music. But in this season, I just decided I only want like Jesus music. I'm going to control my input. So I had like a playlist of like 130 songs, and I just listened to those songs, the songs that we sing here on Sundays. I read the Bible. My pastor told me, don't you dare take any books with you that will cause you to learn anything. You're not allowed to learn anything, because I would treat this as like I'm going to grow as a leader, I'm going to grow as a pastor, I'm going to grow as in my knowledge of God. I said, no, you're not meant to learn anything. Just go read stuff that's entertaining. So I did that. I controlled my inputs. But really, that time was a time for me to pray and really connect with God and get recharged. And that's how Elijah found his strength too. So I want to ask you, do you have a personal relationship with God? Do you connect with God at all? Have you considered what that would look like for you? Because let me tell you what he promises. Let me tell you what he promises if we have a relationship with him. He promises us a kind of rest that we can never experience anywhere else apart from God. These are Jesus' words that Matthew, who was there, recorded for us. Matthew recorded Jesus once saying this: "Are you tired? Are you worn out?" Why would he have to ask those questions? Because sometimes we get tired and worn out, right? So Jesus is asked, are you tired? Are you worn out? This is a big one. Are you burned out on religion? You ever think about that before? I'll tell you why. It's because being religious, when you're a religious person, what you're doing, what religion means is you're working your way to please God. Religion's all about rules, all about the law. The people that Jesus was speaking to, they were all about the rules and all about the law, and they were getting burned out as a result. They're constantly trying to please God with what they did, with where they went. But here's the problem with that. There is no scoreboard, so you never know how you're actually doing. So there's stress involved in that. Am I doing good enough? Did I go to church enough? Did I pray enough? Like, where am I at with God? This is why Jesus is like, hey, enough with the religion stuff. Well, you're going to burn out if you keep doing that. And he offers us a much better way. Are you tired? Are you worn out? Are you burned out on religion? You know what you should do? Come to me. Don't worry about this religion thing. That's all about the rules. I want you to have a relationship with me. Come to me. Get away with me. And you know what will happen? You'll recover your life. Jesus proposes a relationship with him as the way to recover our life. I'll show you, he goes on to say. I'll show you how you can take a real rest. It's through walking with me. Work with me. Watch me. Learn from me. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I love this. Religion's all about the law and the rules. Grace is all about God's unconditional love. His unmerited favor. Then Jesus goes on to say, I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. You keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. Do you have a relationship with God? Basically, what Jesus is saying is follow me. We all follow something. For some of us, we are following after this thing that's been programmed into us that the more you work, the better you are as a father or as a mother or as an employee or as a business person. And Jesus is like, stop following after that stuff. Follow me. This is how you'll recover from burnout. According to Jesus, the best possible thing you can do for rest is to follow him. And if you don't know where to begin, I'll tell you. You just do what he says right here. Walk with me. Work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. When you pay attention to how Jesus lived, you'll notice that he cared deeply for the people that he was around. But he also took care of himself. He often retreated so that he could pray, so that he could rest, so that he could spend time with God. So I would love for you to try that. Try nurturing your relationship with your Heavenly Father. Start with reading the Gospels, the 4 written accounts that we have of his life, and watching Jesus, watching how he spends time with people and how he takes care of himself. Then trust God. Trust that God actually cares more about the people you care about than you do, and that he can be available for them when you're not. And then if Jesus is correct, you can slow down and you can invite him into your life. And when you do, you will recover your life. You will find freedom. You will feel lighter. But more than that, you will gain peace. Peace for your soul, but peace for your mind and heart. Let me say a prayer with you. Heavenly Father, thank you so much that you have not left us hanging when it comes to what to do with our mental health. God, I know it can be so complicated and complex, and God, we've got so many things going on in life that it can be difficult to know how to navigate all of that. So I thank you for the words of Jesus, for the words that are found in the Old and the New Testament that shed some light into how we can navigate our own mental health and our emotional health in a way, God, that really does help us recover our life and find freedom and joy in you. I pray, God, that you give us the wisdom to know what next step we should take, and that you give us the courage to actually take it. And I pray for those of us who want to begin a relationship with you or re-begin, that you help us to do that. Help us to see you for who you are, loving and kind and gracious, and the kind of God that says, I love you so much that I want you to take a nap. I want you to eat something. I'm here to care for you. I pray help us see you accurately so that we can really truly discover what Jesus offers. A rest that helps us recover our life and live in freedom and live lightly. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, hey, I want to thank you so much for spending this time with us. And before you go, I would love for you to consider engaging with local church in 3 additional ways. The first is to fill out a Connect card. No matter where you are in the world, we would love for you to do this. It'll only take you about 30 seconds, and it's just an easy way for us to get to know you a bit more and to serve you better, and for you to get to know us a little better as well. Just click the link in the description to get started. The second way that you can engage with local church is by visiting us in person. If you're local and you don't regularly participate in a church community, we would love to invite you to join us every Sunday. Resources like this can do a lot for our faith personally, but Jesus teaches that God does something unique for our faith when we choose to gather corporately. Click the link in the description to plan your visit.
And finally, if you've been positively impacted by local church in any way, would you consider making a tax-deductible donation? Content like this, along with everything that goes on around here, is only made possible by the generosity of people just like you. You can click the link in the description or visit localchurchli.com/give. So, once again, thank you so much. We hope that you found this content helpful and inspiring, and we're so honored to be a part of your faith journey.